حياتك كأمة في جنوب السودان.
هل انت شاب وبتفتش عن برنامج تعليمي؟ زون 72 برنامج خاص لك انت، بيتم فيه مناقشة كتير من المواضيع اللي بخصك، وفيه انت ممكن كمان تعبر عن رايك وتتواصل مع شباب بنفس تفكيرك. زون 72 بيجيكم في كل يوم السبت من الساعة 4 مساء للساعة 5 مساء على الهواء وعلى الانترنت فقط على اي راديو. عينك على جنوب السودان.
Yes, good evening, listener of iRadio, and welcome to the Zone 72 Youth Program, which comes to you every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. I'm your host, Barry Johnson, and I also have with me in the studio Grace Amviko, who is our sign language interpreter. Zone 72 highlights the rights and choices for all adolescent youth, and it emphasizes on the three-pillared global strategy for adolescent youth, putting young people at the center of sustainable development. Zone 72 Youth Program is in collaboration with the South Sudan Ministry of Health, South Sudan Nurses and Midwives Association, Shabab Le Shabab, Canadian Association of Midwives, and UNFPA. Zone 72 is also made possible with support from Global Affairs Canada. Well, to comment on today's program, you'll be calling us on our studio lines, that is 0911 or 0922 986 986, and for text messages, send to 0913 986 986. You can also stream this broadcast live by logging onto our website, that is www.iradio.org, or on our Facebook page, iRadio. You can also watch this live stream on our YouTube channel, that is iRadio South Sudan. If you have questions about adolescent health, send us an email to youthzone72@gmail.com or call 0922009497. We have two hotlines and they're toll free. If you want to report on GBV, you can call 623. If you want to report on adolescent health immediate, call 885. Today we are going to be looking at an interesting topic, that is life of refugees. Well, 20th June was the World Refugee Day, which has been observed every year. And this international day, designated by the United Nations, honors the strength and resilience of people forced to flee their homes due to conflict or disaster. The day was celebrated this year under the theme Solidarity with Refugees, emphasizing not just words of support, but meaningful action like defending the right to seek safety, amplifying refugee voices, and ensuring access to opportunities in host communities. And to shed more light on our topic of today and to hear experiences, I am pleased to have with me in the studio Nikki Prince of the Hard Life Avenue Stars, and I also have with me Tabitha Aja Shol, who is a Public Relations Officer with Africa Zeal University. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, it's good to have both of you in the studio, just to be hearing your experiences on this very important topic. Let me start with Nikki Prince. Can you just walk us through your early experience as a refugee? What specific event led to your displacement, and what do you remember most about that journey?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I remember sharing about my experience of being a refugee only once. I think this happens to be the second time.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, I would say the experience of the displacement, I didn't experience it because unfortunately I was actually born a refugee. So meaning if I was to experience anything, I experienced in my mother's womb because she ran with me.
Okay.
Yeah, she ran with me to the refugee camp. But unfortunately, just 2 weeks after being given birth to, again, my mom had to be moved from where I was born. We had to be moved to another camp. And again, from there also didn't take even long. We had to be moved again to another camp. It was just movement after movement, movement after movement. So the experiences that I experienced were now as I was growing as a child and into an adolescent. The experience of, you have to have battles with the host communities because, it's obvious if people have invaded your place, though they are running for safety, of course they create pressure on your resources, and obviously you will not feel okay. So we experienced a lot from the host. Though at first they were welcoming, but as the hosts are welcoming, the more you continue staying in their land, because you multiply, and when the more you multiply, there's already a fight for resources. So over time they change their mindset. they start behaving differently.
Yes.
I remember, of course, even just to go and get mangoes, they have to chase you with dogs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the reason of your mother being moved from a camp to another?
Well, the first displacement was, of course, they were moved from Kajukeji and then to Eastern Equatoria. From Eastern Equatoria, they had to move to Kitgum. Kitgum district is just bordering South Sudan from the side of Eastern Equatoria.
Yes.
So in Kitgum, unfortunately, Kitgum was not accommodating refugees. So again, they had to be moved to Ajumani district, Asia. And in Asia, again, that place was not acceptable by the host community for us to settle there. Again, they had to move to Agojo. Agojo was purely a refugee settlement camp, so that was where we actually stayed. I would say we stayed from 1989 up to 1997. Then again we were moved to another settlement camp called Dubaju. Now from there we stayed until the time we were moved back to South Sudan. That was in 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Let's also hear from Tabitha. If you can also share with us you take us through your journey and your experience as a refugee.
Well, thank you so much, Radio, for hosting us, and this is a great moment to be able to share our experiences as people who have ever lived as refugees. I remember my story began, I think, around early 2000. We found ourselves moving. Actually, I don't remember when the journey was planned. I just found myself on motion. So I kept asking my mother, where are we going? Where are we going? She would tell me, we are heading home, we are heading home. And I would ask, when are we reaching? So she would tell me, just like maybe few minutes from now we'll be reaching. And then finally we reached Imbepi settlement camp. It's in Koboko district, but now it is under different district. So we went there, and during that time it was raining heavily. I think I was about 3 years there. So when we were in that camp, so much happened. One of the major experiences that I'm able to remember was how my mother's name had to be changed into a man's name. My mother's name is Yardeng, but in the records of the refugees, she was called Deng Yar. And that brought a very conflicting situation to us. Because women were accommodated, there were certain things that were given to women, but my mother was not in position to receive, because every time she turned up, she was told that the name was for a man, yet her name was just changed. So that was really disturbing. And then another major event that I remember was when Uganda was going for elections, and so many families had to flee back to Uganda because people had to flee back to South Sudan because people had the fear that some political insurgency was going to take place in Uganda. And as people were fleeing, my mother was not in position to come back with us because my younger sister was breastfeeding, and I was so young. That was around 2001. So we remained during that time, and many other people were complaining that the security was not going to be well. There were so many challenges, but my mom had no choice. She remained with some other few people that also had issues. So it was a very difficult experience, and nobody deserves to be a refugee. No one admires to be one. Yes,
Okay.
so that's my experience.
All right, thank you, Tabitha. Let me come back to Nikki. Like, how did the refugee experience influence your identity, your personality, and how did you find music as a coping tool during that time?
Thank you. First of all, one thing that I noticed about being a refugee, I would say the positive side of it was we were all in a camp with mixed tribes. Growing up in the camp, I didn't actually know my tribe because the first language I learned wasn't even my language. I learned a different language.
Okay.
So I grew up among several South Sudanese tribes, the Muru, the Lotuko, the Lokwa, so many. So I knew that we were just all South Sudanese, but not specific about tribe.
Yeah.
I just only got surprised now when I came back to,
Yeah,
to
that there are
South Sudan.
different tribes.
That and actually now people actually identify themselves by tribe, which is a very odd thing for me. But then also when we were moved to Dubaju settlement camp, that was already when I was actually at an age that I could actually have memory of everything. I actually started the idea of singing from there.
Okay.
Yes, because when we were moved to Dubaju settlement camp, the UNHCR ratio also started to drop. So as refugees, we had to have a relationship with the host communities to convince them to give us land for us to cultivate. Yes. But there was a time when, because if you keep tilling the same land, it also kept losing its value. So there was a time we could no longer now actually harvest enough to feed the family. And one day my mom woke up and was like, Sinao doesn't know what we're going to eat today. I'm like, Mom, for real? She's like, yeah, there's actually no food. I'm like, okay, what do we have? What is the last thing we have in the house? Mom said she only have 1 cup of flour. And she has, in our language they call it burukusut.
Burukusut.
Yes, and only a little burukusut. I'm like, okay, so what we do is, don't worry. That small flour we have, you mingle it, but make it hard. And then the burukusut, let's cook it with tegiri and make it also hard, so that we will just eat it and drink water on top of it. But as Mom was cooking, I picked a jerrycan and I started beating the jerrycan and started singing. And my singing, I was exactly singing about the situation we were in. And that is how things started actually developing. And I started feeling like actually I could sing my situation. And it may just relieve me and maybe relieve someone out there. And that's how slowly I started the idea of singing, until when I went into secondary school, I had to formalize singing and writing songs. I found refuge in singing songs, because mostly I sing about the situation that happen around me, happening to me or happening to my surrounding, and I feel relieved when I'm able to speak out whatever that I'm going through or my community is going through. Yeah.
Okay. And Tabitha, what were some of the pressing challenges that you faced in terms of access to education, health, safety, and also mental health as a young refugee by that time?
Well, I vividly remember one of the events that happened. There was a stampede where people said as there were rebels somewhere coming. And as a result, people started packing. I think there was no proper source of information. People just got that information that there are some rebels that are coming to attack people in the camps. And it was about 9 p.m. So people started packing their things. People started moving, with no source, like people had no major destination to go to, but everyone started packing and moving with their things. That was around 2005, I guess, 2005 or 2004. And then we moved the whole night, and it was also raining on us. So we moved up to a place called Base Camp, and when we reached Base Camp, we just slept out and it rained on us. So it was a very difficult experience. Coming to the side of education, I'm very sure refugees, there are refugee schools in different parts of Uganda, but they do not offer the best kind of education that every child needs. Refugee centers are places meant for a very short period of time of stay. These are not places where you're supposed to stay. So much as the schools in the refugee camps, they do not offer a very incredible kind of education that someone can use to compete with the outside world. So that was another major challenge. And then on the issue of health, as I talk now, I have some relatives that are living in the refugee camps and friends, and it has really been challenging on grounds that people do not get medication on time. When someone gets sick, you're supposed to have access to medication, but it is not happening. So that is also another major challenge. And then on the side of youth, young people are supposed to use the abilities that they have within themselves to do different things, but we do not have such places to help young people be able to use their talent to produce something. So those are the major challenges in the camp, and also hunger, which is also another serious thing. because the food provided in the refugee camp is there to sustain someone. It is not for satisfaction. So that is another major challenge that refugees are facing.
Okay. Yes, Nikki, let's hear from you.
Yeah, actually, my parents got displaced twice. In 2016, again, they were displaced from Kajukeji again back to the camp. I think the fortunate part is because we were in Juba, but maybe we would have been all together. But, I passively felt the suffering of my parents and my siblings because we were born in a Muslim family where we were raised, you are not exposed to practicing, for example, drinking alcohol. But all of a sudden, I realized my siblings were drinking alcohol, and this can be as caused by, can be connected to mental health because they go through a lot of trauma. They're exposed to situations they are not supposed to be in, and now they're finding refuge in drinking alcohol. My youngest, who is our second last born, is already drinking. I sat down with him. I'm like, but bro, what is the problem? You see, me, I've been in the music industry for the last 15 years. I've been exposed to people who drink and smoke, but I have never been influenced to do that. Why? What is wrong with you? He just told me, bro, you will not understand. And that is the fact. However much that we have humanitarian organizations in the refugee camps that are supposed to provide humanitarian services, but with the influx of refugees, the services are not enough. And to make it worse, currently with the cut in fundings, our people are going through a lot. Talk of Imbepi camp and even Morobi camp, Bidibidi camp. Right now, our people are suffering. Like I had to move my siblings out of there because it was getting bad. I had to move them away. My mom had health issues, but there are no health facilities that she can access so that she can get solutions to that. Now I have to passively go through that pain because now you have to go to other districts or out of the refugee settlement to go get health services. So I would say the worst refugee situation is the current one. In our times, it was fair. It was fair because by then there used to be enough funding for humanitarian organizations, but now things are not really the way it is, and I'm just worried. Even if our people comes back, we have a lot of work to do to repair people's mind. Yeah.
Okay, and then let's now talk about the experience of coming back to the country. So, Nikki, how was it for you? Leaving the refugee camp and now coming back to your own country, starting again. How was that journey, rebuilding your life? So, how was it?
Well, it was very exciting because first of all, though you have never been home, you are not born home. This that you feel like I really need to go home.
Yeah.
We came home to a bush. To start afresh, just like how we started afresh at the refugee camp. You have to cut poles and start building a hut. The same thing, but it felt different because you have that feeling that now actually this is my ancestral land. I don't need to beg anyone to give me a piece of land. It was really so fulfilling. But the good thing with coming back home was I actually first came back earlier. Before the official repatriation of refugees. I came back in 2004 and actually started studying from Kajukeji.
Okay.
Yes, but now coming back officially as refugees during the repatriation, I felt so fulfilling. Though you see this difference, you have to start afresh from zero.
Yeah.
But at least you feel that you're home and you feel happy. But right now, the situation is different. There are people who are trying to come back voluntarily. Unfortunately, they also experience violence. People have to go back and forth. I'm talking of refugees. People like from the bordering counties of Central Equatoria. Talk of Morobo, talk of Kajukeji.
Yeah.
People keep coming. By the way, they voluntarily return because the situation is worse in the camp. But unfortunately, they come back. All of a sudden there's violence. Another person has been killed. Yes, someone has been killed. Again, they have to go back, and this news spreads. And actually, it removes the idea of people thinking of coming back home. So you know what that means? That means we really need security to be brought back to its normal status, so that people can can willingly come back instead of waiting for an official repatriation, because even the situation currently alone is already forcing people to come back home. But who will come back home to be killed? No one wants to be in that situation. People want to come back home to where they feel home is safe, because though they ran from not being safe, and they felt like it was safe somehow there, unfortunately the lack of food and lack of services is already another problem that is making them not to feel safe.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Tabitha, let's also hear from you. How was the experience of returning back to South Sudan?
Well, I left the refugee camp at a much younger age. That was in 2006, where my family relocated me to Yei. So I was in Yei for about 2 years. Then I went back to Uganda, and when I went back to Uganda, I didn't go back to the camp until the conflict of 2013 took place, because my family members went back. And of course, when you have a family in a certain place, that is where you go. So I could go to school in Kampala, and during the holidays I would go and see my family, and that has really been hard, because you find yourself maybe sleeping in a good place, and then you go to another place and your family members are not sleeping well, they are not having the food that they are supposed to have. So it was a little bit conflicting. And of course, after making it back home from the camp, I felt good. I felt as someone who can go after my dreams, because I was able to go to the schools that were able to teach me something that I'm able to hold on and build, not like the schools that I just go and learn brief things and come back home. So that has been a little bit exciting, but in some other times it is not so well until all South Sudanese get out from there. Because much as we leave the refugee camp and we still have relatives or families, we feel like a certain part of us is still in that place. So it is not so fulfilling to be out and have families and relatives and friends that side. So we hope that everyone is able to get out there when times are better in the country.
Okay. Yes, Nikki, also, how did the background of being a refugee shaped the kind of music and message you deliver today as you speak through the Hard Life Avenue music?
Well, the background of being a refugee, just like I stated initially, I've learned to communicate my pain through music, and that pain, of course, was inflicted to me because of having been a refugee. And now, reflecting to the situation of the country, in my country where I am now, I have now to relate everything, and how I have to put it into music and communicate it out there. I would say maybe if the experience of being a refugee wasn't there, I would not know. But everything it's of course it's God's way. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Tabitha, having working in academia and communications, so how do you use your platform to raise awareness on refugee issues, especially within the higher education sector?
Well, I have written a book, and in my book I have one full chapter that I've written about the experiences of refugees. And this book has gone to about 24 countries so far in the world. And so many people read it and understand the complex situation that the refugees are in. So I'm trying to use that side of writing to be able to expose the challenges that refugees are having. And when I talk about the challenges refugees are having, this cuts across, whether you're a South Sudanese or a Congolese or someone from Pakistan, wherever country you come from, the challenges of refugees are all the same across the world. And I'm trying to use that platform to be able to educate people outside there about the challenges that refugees go through. And then at the university, of course, given the challenges that I went through, it has shaped my mind on how I understand and relate with different people. You know, when you've not experienced something, you cannot relate how difficult it is to be in that situation. But when you have experienced something firsthand, you are able to relate. I remember in 2023 I was traveling to Uganda, and there was this family of women with very young children that were coming from Khartoum, and they were going to one of the camps in Uganda. So when we were in the same taxi, we reached somewhere around Kiriadongo, and they were asked to get down by the conductor and the driver just on the road, and it was about to rain. So I kept on insisting, asking those people, why do you want to put them on the roadside? Because I was able to relate how it felt during my time and how it was for them. So I complained to those people, and after complaining, they were able to take those people to some place, and fortunately, we found a man that speaks Arabic, and the man is from Khartoum, so he was able to accommodate them that night. And as we were traveling, some Ugandan man was telling me that these are the challenges that come with wars. These women do not know any place in Uganda, they don't know any language. So I brought in this story so that you're able to understand how I relate with those people, because this is something that I have experienced, and I'm trying to use my platform to be able to create a community where we're able to understand the challenges people go through, to relate with them in different areas of their challenges, and be able to bring forth a solution to problems.
Okay. All right. Yes, our broadcast time is 25 minutes past the hour of 4. Listen of iRadio, if you have just tuned in, this is the Zone 72 Youth Program, and today we are discussing life of refugees. Remember that 20th June was the War Refugee Day, which is founded to honor the strength and resilience of people forced to flee their homes due to conflict, disaster, or other factors. Our studio line is open for you to call in 0911 or 0922 986 986 if you have questions, or you would love to share also your experience as a refugee with us. You feel free to call these numbers. Those who are watching us on our Facebook live stream, you can drop your questions and your comments there, and then our guest in the studio will be able to answer them. 0911 or 0922 986 986. These are the numbers that will connect you live with us here in the studio. Now, Nikki, can you share with us what misconceptions do you think the public often has about refugees, and how can the media and also the music industry help counter them effectively?
For someone who has not experienced being a refugee, they think it's fun. But because the major thing that runs in their mind is free food. Okay. Free food, free services. That's what they think, but they don't know what people go through. Even to get that free food they talk about, like she just talked about her mother's name being changed to a man's name. Those are all the challenges. Our people have to forge names of people so that they can have enough food in the household to feed the household. You see, that's a very difficult thing. And people also think that for being a refugee, you get access to free education. The free education may be free, but it is not the way education is supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's a very difficult thing. Well, if you are lucky enough to be displaced to a country that has services, maybe somehow. We were displaced to Uganda that has a free primary education. But of course, after primary, you need to go to another level. You need to go to secondary, and secondary is paid. So how do you pay it? At the end of the day, you have to sell the food that has been received from the free food. You have to sell it to pay tuition fees. You see, it's a very difficult experience. It's never fun. Being chased around because the host communities feel like you're exploiting their resources is not anything fun to talk about. So people who have not been displaced, they don't really know. And if you have never experienced a situation, you should not mock someone, because until you go there, you will really know that things are not that easy. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Tabitha, do you want to share any other misconceptions that you have experienced about refugees, apart from the free food and free education that Nikki talked about?
Yeah, there are quite a number of experiences, quite a number of misconceptions in our community, where people think that people are in the refugee camps to benefit. I remember we had one of the lectures with the lecturer of political science at the university way back in 2022. And so this lecturer, Dr. Mansour, told us that there was a student who asked a question that I went to one of the refugee camps to do a research, and as I was asking the refugee what brought him to the refugee camp. The person cried, and the lecturer said, let me add that, the refugees are not in position to give you the real answers as to why they're in that place. The answers are somewhere within the political sector of the country. And those are the right people that are to be questioned of why people are in such places. Well, it is understandable if some people go to such places by themselves. Of course, there are few other people that will want to follow their relatives. But the main aspect of being in the refugee camps is not a personal choice. It is not something that people admire to be. Humanity has been created in a way that everyone aims to do better and to be a better version of themselves. Nobody would want to sit in a place where they ask someone for something. So those are some of the misconceptions where people regard refugees as people who do not want to work, they do not want to do things, they do not want to do anything. People say that they are running away from rebels and so on. But this is something that is more than that. We need to understand and be able to learn what are the factors that are taking people to such places, and what are the factors that are pulling people to those countries when we are in
922-986-986. Now, Nikki, there is also another concern about people going to the refugee camps voluntarily to use it as an opportunity or a waiting place to be taken to the West or to travel to the West. So what do you say also about that?
Well, it's still, until you know the personal reason as to why the person is doing that, you will just be having speculations. If someone doesn't feel safe anymore in a certain place, they have rights to go where they feel safe. Even if they want to go to the West, they have the rights. And that should not be something to really capitalize on. Where I feel safe to stay, it's where I will go to. So it shouldn't be treated as people think that also going to the West is just fun. It's not also fun. In the West also is tough. Until you hear stories from people who are in the West also, you will know that things are not really the way it looks to be like in the media. You see the TVs and you think things are just like that. There are a lot of things that are hidden. Until you have personal conversations with people, you will know. You don't know those people's personal stories. They might have gone through events that are not so pleasing. They don't want anymore to associate themselves with the place they came from because of the memories of the trauma they have been through. That might be the reason as to why they want to go somewhere where they will feel safe. So for me, I can't victimize someone for going to the camp just to get an opportunity to go to the West. If they don't feel safe, that's their personal reasons. Yeah.
Okay. And Tabitha, how can more women from refugee backgrounds rise into leadership or advocacy roles from your own perspective?
I think one of the major things to take as women or as girls to be able to rise is to accept who we are, to accept that maybe you've been forced into the refugee camp for this and that reason, but you do not have to undermine yourself and say that you're not able to do that. So as women, you need to just believe in yourself and say that, well, much as I'm here in this place, I can still be someone else, without having this stigma of limiting ourselves. Yes.
Okay. And Nikki, apart from the normalizing security, as you talked about it earlier, in what other ways can the government better support refugee youth in discovering and nurturing their talents, and also to encourage those who are still in the refugee camps to come back to the country?
Well, it will be pushed two perspectives. When we talk of refugees, for example, who are in country, let's say people who are displaced from other countries and they are right now in our country, it is not fun for them to go through what we have gone through in the countries that we were displaced to. Well, not just the government, but even as citizens of this country, we need to provide that safety that they have come for. We shouldn't treat them as if they are people who are coming to grab our resources. As refugees, they are also not here forever. They are also yearning to go back home. And by the time home is secure, they will go back. It starts first with the community. As citizens of this country, we need to offer that safety to the refugees who are in our country. And for the government also, the government has to come in with policies that can also allow these refugees play into our economy, like be able to contribute to economy, and they be able to live their lives and don't feel like refugees. Because the more we make them feel like they need to be given things, they become dependents, and that will not be good for the economy. And then for our people who are out refugees who are outside the country, I think the major priority for us is security. Actually, it is when security is fixed, the rest of the things will just be they will come into play automatically. When the security, trust me, even people will not need repatriation. People will just come voluntarily home. But without security being fixed, even if you go and repatriate people right now by force, they will still go back to the refugee camp. So to me, security is a priority. Otherwise, there's no another pull factor apart from the country being secure for people to come back. Yeah.
Okay, yes, Tabitha?
I think I do not have my difference from what he has said. The security is the major factor. When people are able to access their villages and have good roads to be able to bring their products from the gardens, I think it can be something that will encourage refugees to come back. Because honestly speaking, there are people who are interested in coming back, but the roads leading to their places are not safe. Their villages are not safe. So how do you encourage someone to come to a place where they will not be safe? So for the government of South Sudan to be able to encourage our people to come back home, there has to be a policy that will protect the refugees, that will also settle them, because someone can't just leave their houses and go to a place. At least there should be a starting point that will allow them to come back.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tabitha. We are 27 minutes past the hour of 4, and yes, we are still going on with our conversation. Our studio line is open for you, listen of iRadio, to call us on 0911 or 0922 986 986, or you can also send us a text message on 0913 986 986. For those who are following the program from our Facebook live stream, you can drop your questions and comments there, and I'll be able to read them to our guest later on. Let's go for a short break, and then when I come back, we will continue with our conversation.
For information and entertainment, stay tuned to iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
This is a message of peace. We all are South Sudanese. It does not matter where anyone comes from. We need to respect each other and support each other because we are one. We all are human beings. As South Sudanese, we deserve to coexist peacefully, tolerate one another, reconcile all our differences, and live peacefully. This is a message of tolerance and peaceful coexistence brought to you by iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
إحنا كلنا جنوبيين سودانيين، ما مهم منو جاي من وين. إحنا محتاجين نحترم بعض وندعم بعض لأنه إحنا واحد. إحنا كلنا بشر كسودانيين جنوبيين، بنستحق عشان نعيش بالسلام، نستحمل بعض ونصالح خلافاتنا ونعيش بالسلام. ده رسالة تسامح والتعايش السلمي بيجيك من iRadio هناك في جنوب السودان.
Yes, welcome back from that break, and you are still tuned in to the Zone 72 Youth Program right here on iRadio. Today we're looking at life of refugees, and with me in the studio I have Nikki Prince of the Hard Life Avenue Stars, and I also have Tabitha Aja Chol, who is Public Relations Officer with Africa Zil University. 0911 or 0922 986 986. These are the numbers that will connect you live with us in the studio. iRadio.
Radio, good evening.
Good evening. Tell us your name and where you're calling in from.
Yes, we are connected with Justin Jazzy from Yambio.
Yes, Justin.
Yeah.
Yes, you're welcome.
Anybody should be found with another video enough. So, Tell Hajat Katir Halmai. As a $1 with Anna, $10 with Anna, $1 with Anna, our Haja Lemon put a pogo with a humming. As an attack and she was in South Sudan, Putar Nas after bigger refugees Bigatala Fulham in South Sudan. Hajat and Nakan Binagi Pog Howell, Natala Hamin Bitanna Howell Hamin Puntamam, Unas Bidor Fishari Tamam, Udinum Fishari, Hajat Bukal Nas Bitanna Altala Bara, Mini South Sudan, I can die South Sudan. Look at you, Fassi. The Shari Minhina Lejuba. Ita logoma sa ita bisilu saba yom wala tamani fishari ta bosi lekwa. Bardo mini juba le Uganda ita bisilu tamani yom sakit o dema kele mashakil fishari da. Aja kan bikalim fogo awal bitahamin. Isalla hamin bitanna awal tamam o badak ne kalim fi mawdu salam. Akan am loma tamam al salam begi tes. Salam behaji kan hamin bukun tamam kala nas bade refugee bar ya fusa dan loma sidan. Dan aku South Sudan dan ma bukun tan.
Okay, shukran katir. Okay, Justin from Yambio, he is emphasizing on the same thing Nikki talked about, which is security. We need to address the issue of insecurity in the country to encourage people who are outside to come back to the country. Thank you, Justin from Yambio, for calling in. Yes, 0911 or 0922-986-986. Our studio line is open for you if you want to call and ask our guest in the studio a question. Remember, we are looking at our topic of today is life of refugees. And as I said earlier, that 20th June, which was Friday, it was the War Refugee Day, which is to honor the strength and resilience of people who were forced to flee their homes due to conflict, disaster, or any other factor that contributed for them to leave their homes. Now, coming back to you, Nikki and Tabitha, what will you tell a young person still living in the refugee camps and who aspires to rebuild their lives or become change makers? Let me start with Nick Prince.
Well, for me, one thing I would say is as a young person who is in the refugee camp, your life is not over. The situation you are in is just actually an opportunity for you to rethink and explore the possible opportunities that you see around you. Do not allow it to get into your mind and traumatize you to an extent that you lose yourself. You still have greater opportunities ahead of you. Whatever education facilities that are existing, take up that. We studied under the trees by then in the refugee camps, but here we are still alive. We are contributing to the nation. You too can do that. It doesn't matter where you are starting it from. Take whatever opportunity that is there. Secondly, do not be influenced into doing things that may jeopardize your life. For example, do not get into drugs. Do not allow someone tell you how you're supposed to lead your life, yet it is in a negative way. Specifically listen to your parents, because when I say do not listen to someone, you might end up ignoring your parents too. But listen to your parents, but have your own personal instincts to judge a situation. Do not just accept just because you think it is the right way to lead your life. Whatever situation you are going through, it's temporary. It is not there forever. You will make it and you will be a great person. The people who are actually very successful are people who went through tough situations. Tough situations builds tough people, and trust me, you will be a better person.
Okay. Yes, Tabitha.
I would tell young people who are in the refugee camps that being in the camp is not the end of all things. You can also become a great person, just as my brother said. So young people should not give up. We are here and we've been in the same situation, and there are so many other great people out there that have been in the same situation, and the situation has shaped them to become great men and women. So being in the refugee camp should not be a limitation to someone. So let them have hope and trust the process. If there are opportunities for them to work or go to school or do anything, let all the young people be available to do it, and then through it all, something great will come out from it.
Okay, and as we conclude, like, what policies or frameworks do you believe that should be put in place? Earlier on in the beginning, Nikki talked about the relationship between the refugees and the host community. We have refugees now in South Sudan. So, Nikki, which policies do you believe that should be put in place to better that relationship between refugees in South Sudan and the host community?
One important thing is actually economic empowerment opportunities for the refugees, because they ran from their countries with nothing. They actually have nothing that they're surviving on. They are depending on the food that's given to them by the humanitarian sector. They just need to be empowered to be able to make it for themselves, and that is through economic empowerment programs that the government can partner with some, of course, with even the companies or development partners that are available to be able to strengthen these people's way of livelihood, so that they don't strain the available resources that the host are. Because conflict between the host and the refugees always comes from the issue of resources. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Tabitha, you want to add something?
Well, there should be a way of integrating the refugee communities into the local communities. And in countries where that has been practiced, it has really helped so many people. So when a refugee maybe has stayed for a certain number of years in a certain country, at least they should be integrated into the community. By doing so, it allows the refugee to utilize the opportunities that are also available for the local citizens. And that will really help out. And then apart from that, the government of South Sudan and the government of Uganda should at least work on a process that, for example, if we have this number of years where we have refugees in the camp, at least within a certain period, they have to be removed from there and given other opportunities that can help them grow. Because one thing about being in the refugee camps for long causes a lot of problems. When we look at DRC Congo right now, it is in a political insurgency because of the recruitment that happens within the refugees by the rebel leaders. So for us to be able to avoid that as a country or as a community, something has to be done. When someone has overstayed in the refugee or has stayed for a certain period of time, they have to be integrated either into the local community in the host country or maybe to their country of origin.
Okay. All right. Let's go for a short break, and then when we come back, we will be concluding with our discussion for today. But still, if you have been following the program and you have any questions to our guest in the studio, you can still call us on 0911 or 0922 986 986.
For information and entertainment, stay tuned to iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
This is a message of peace. We all are South Sudanese. It does not matter where anyone comes from. We need to respect each other and support each other because we are one. We all are human beings. As South Sudanese, we deserve to coexist peacefully, tolerate one another, reconcile all our differences, and live peacefully. This is a message of tolerance and peaceful coexistence brought to you by iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
لمعلومات وترفيه خليك على iRadio، عينك على جنوب السودان.
إحنا كلنا جنوبين سودانيين، ما مهم منو جاي من وين. إحنا محتاجين نحترم بعض وندعم بعض لأنه إحنا واحد. أنحنا كلنا بشر كسودانيين جنوبيين بنستحق عشان نعيش بالسلام، نستحمل بعض ونصالح خلافاتنا ونعيش بالسلام. ده رسالة تسامح والتعايش السلمي بيجيك من iRadio، عينك في جنوب السودان.
Okay, welcome back from that short break, and we have with this we have come to the conclusion of our talk show for today, and I'm going to give Nikki Prince and Tabitha, each of them, the opportunity to share their messages, their last messages to the government, to the public, and also to you, listen of iRadio. So let's start with Tabitha. What is your last message that you'd love to share with our listeners today?
Well, I would like to encourage the government of South Sudan to do something about refugees. To be a refugee is something that is associated with a temporal leave from your country while you're seeking for refuge. But it should not take so long because the refugees are a very great resource to this country, especially the young people that are in Uganda. So I really advise the government of South Sudan to come up with programs that are able to bring people back home so that these young people can be used as producers. They can produce food, furniture, and different other things that we need as a country. So it's not just about them being hosted or fed in Uganda, but it's also about us getting benefits from refugees because of the great manpower that they have, especially the young generation. So, and also to the local communities, I encourage everyone to be able to understand that being a refugee is not someone's choice when it happens. We have to give people room to be able to get back to the community and stand on their feet. You can't find someone who is fallen and also kick them to be down. So when you find someone who has fallen, at least give them a hand to bring them up. So let's not look at the refugees and also keep on adding more onto the challenges that they are having. Let's find a way of accommodating them and welcoming them back. And if you have a relative or a friend who is living in the refugee camp, extend a hand and be able to help them. If they are children that need to be educated, let's give them the opportunity to go to schools. And then as the entire community of South Sudanese, let's encourage peace. Because supporting refugees does not only need the government to put everything in order. We also, as a community, have a role to play. Each and every one of us has a role to play to make sure that South Sudan is peaceful so that our people are able to return back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tabitha. Yes, Nikki Prince.
Me, I will talk on conflict resolution. The government and the whole lot of groups have been trying their best to resolve the conflict. But it's high time. It's no longer just between the government and the whole lot groups. These whole lot groups are part of a community. It's high time that the communities also step up and try to encourage a whole lot of groups to really lay down arms and come into compromise with the government to allow peace to reign and for our people to come back. It's been too long now that our people are in the camps and things are not really that good. And please give peace a chance. Let our people come back home and rebuild their lives back. And the more they are in the camps, people's life are dragged backward. Our younger siblings are not having a clear future, because when will they be people who will contribute to nation building when the education they are having access to is not the way it's supposed to be? When our mothers who are in the camps do not have access to good health care, what is the future for them? Please give peace a chance and let peace reign so that our people can just voluntarily come back home if you're able to provide for them peace in areas where there's conflict. And to the people, to our people who are refugees in the camps and those who are refugees in country from other neighboring countries, trust me, just as we emphasized before, it's never over for you. This is not going to be that long, though it seems to be that long. It will not be long. Things will change, and eventually you will go back to your country and enjoy the rest of the peaceful life. It's all in God's hands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Nikki Prince, and also Tabitha, for this interesting discussion. And thanks to our sign language interpreter, Grace Amviko. We meet again next Saturday on another interesting discussion right here on the Zone 72. I was with you, Maria Johnson. Have a nice evening.